here at the VW booth at the NEIAS, I have found the 2020 VW Passat. So join me and let's take a quick walk around and see what's new for this generation. The front of the 2020 Passat, well, it doesn't seem like there's anything new. It seems fairly similar to the rest of the VW group, very similar to the Jetta, more evolutionary. Of course, in terms of the Passat itself, it's a bit of an upgrade, a bit of a refresh, but nothing special, nothing that I find is significantly different than what we see in Volkswagens nowadays, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just what the corporate design philosophy is going towards today. So you have the large front grille, very horizontal, very simple, and very straightforward horizontal headlamps, of course now with LED. The front logo is two-dimensional because that houses the radar sensor, which means down here you have a much more cleaner part of the bumper, and just overall very simple, very elegant, very German. The side profile of the Passat is very simple and clean. You get 17-inch wheels as standard, but you can optionally get 18 and 19-inch wheels as well. A singular design line which goes from the front all the way to the back, lending this car a very cohesive design language. As we go along the side, fairly large door. This is a larger car compared to, for example, the Jetta, so there is a lot more interior space and a lot more space in the trunk. We'll see that in a minute. The roofline, well, they say it's more coupe-like, and that's a word that has been used quite often nowadays in PR by these car companies. This, to me, is not a coupe. It's a very traditional sedan. Yes, it's not so boxy cut. It's a little bit more sloping, but perhaps the Arteon is the only car I would associate with having a coupe roofline in this family. But on the whole, it is a very clean, simple design, very executive, very German. The back is very simple. Clean horizontal lines for the tail lamps, very similar to the Jetta as well, but a little bit more longer here in the Passat. The branding also in big bold letters along the boot lid. Simple logo, camera for the rear view, parking assist, sensors as well, and unfortunately there are no exhaust tips visible in the back bumper. It's just this cosmetic element. There is nothing even behind this. Even the R-Line, which I'll show you in a minute, doesn't have real exhaust tips. The actual exhaust is further down. The boot, however, is really spacious. As you can see, much larger than the Jetta. Very usable, very rectangular. The wheel arches do kind of impede a little bit into the space, but you do have a lot more space over here. You could even probably fit a smaller suitcase in this cubby area. You do get a temporary spare wheel, so it's easier to fix a flat on the way rather than use the tire kit. You also have these switches to release the seats, although they do not tumble. So which means that once you've released them, you have to go to the front and flip the seats down. And as you can see, it folds in a 60-40 fashion, allowing you to put those really large items in the back. The R-Line for the new Passat makes the car a little bit more sporty in terms of its design. So for example, the lower bumper is redesigned to look more athletic and a little bit more aggressive. You have this glossy black inlay around the edges to kind of make the car a lot much more sporty looking. The R-Line logo as well. Even the grille has a little bit of extra detailing like these chrome slats along the vertical lines in the grille. Towards the side you will also notice that the R-Line has special wheels, and at the back the bumper is also redesigned. It has twin fake exhaust tip designs, and there's also a small glossy black spoiler. The door is fairly large because, of course, this is a slightly larger sedan. Materials are not that bad, although this car has, in all honesty, been built down to a price. So it's not the most, it doesn't have the most expensive materials, but it's still very acceptable. You can also see this car comes with the optional Fender audio system that we've seen for a lot of the Volkswagen America cars like the Atlas. But on the inside, yeah, the dashboard is pretty neat. Sit inside and let's take a closer look. The seats are fully adjustable electronically in this variant. So is the steering column, although manually, so finding a comfortable seating position is very easy. The dashboard is really usable, very easy to see and very easy to use, although there is no virtual cockpit since this is not on the MQB platform. Materials on the top of the dash are very nice. I do like the faux wood inserts. As usual, I always like wood inside the interior cabin of a car. Just makes it seem that much more cozy. This light beige color also lifts the cabin, makes it a lot more bright inside. Thanks to also, in part, the sunroof, which lets in ample light. Place to keep your sunglasses. So very expected of a Volkswagen car. Nice horizontal upper area for the vents for the air conditioning. Very seamless design. I really like it. The infotainment system is also very slick, very responsive. The screen isn't that large, but you do get some shortcut soft touch buttons along the sides. And of course, you get Android Auto, Apple CarPlay, and MirrorLink. Dual zone climate control, a lot of charging ports and USB ports, and a very usable center armrest with the cubbyhole underneath. In the back, there's plenty of space, thanks to this car being that much more larger than the Jetta. So getting inside is also fairly easy. I'm 5'8". I have just about enough headroom, plenty of knee room. I can also slide my feet under the front seat. Large bin in the door to keep water bottles and such. In the middle over here, we see some air conditioning vents. Although there doesn't seem to be a third zone for the rear, perhaps it's an option. We'll have to wait once we get the configurator. Heated seats for the rear passengers, which is nice. Although, as of now, there is no ventilated seats for even the front passengers. But on the plus side, some USB ports, and the transmission tunnel is fairly shallow, which means that a center passenger can also fit reasonably comfortably. The bench is also fairly up high, so you're not sitting down too low. Isofix points for child seats and a center armrest with cup holders. Under the hood of the 2020 Passat is the same 2-liter inline turbo 4 petrol engine that we've seen before, coupled with a 6-speed Tiptronic torque converter Autobox. But with this new generation, there is a little bit of a bump up in torque, but the power remains the same at 174 horsepower. In fact, at launch, the car will come with the previous generation's petrol engine, and only after that will this new engine be available. They're all front-wheel drive only, with no option, at least currently, for an all-wheel drive version. So I just stumbled into Will at the Volkswagen booth here at the Detroit Auto Show. He's with the North American PR team. Will, thank you so much for taking your time to be with us and speak to us. So behind us, as you guys can see, is the all-new 2020 Passat. When I say all-new, it's not really all-new. It's just a more of an evolutionary new generation of the Passat. So can you tell us a little bit about what's different about it now, what's new about it, and just takeaway features that you want to highlight?
Sure. Well, it's a pretty extensive refresh, as you mentioned. Outside of the car, there's not much that is shared with the previous version of it. Almost every panel of the sheet metal has been redesigned to give a sleeker, faster look that really suits the nature of the car and the nature of Volkswagen's fun-to-drive characteristic that so many people look at our vehicles for. If you walk around, whether you're looking at the standard or the R line, you see the styling is very crisp. It's like a low slung, almost coupe-like profile to it. The front end is a very much more aggressive than it was in the past. New set of wheels, 19-inch wheels that come on the R line that are really, really striking looking. Just a head-turning car inside and out. While many brands move away from sedans, we look at the numbers and still see that they sell. They're a good 20-25% of the cars sold in the U.S. every year. So the Passat has been a great standing, great performer for us, built in our factory in Chattanooga, and we've decided to stick with it and keep it going, give more of what the customers like, less of what they don't, and this is our answer to that.
Fantastic. So let's talk a little bit about the drivetrain and the platform. So this, first of all, is a platform that is specific for the Passat in North America. It's not the same platform that's used in the other European versions of the car, correct?
Correct. So this is one of our cars that are not built on the MQB platform yet. That's something that it just made sense with the life cycle of the car to carry it around and switch that over to later. But it's been on this platform for quite a while, and we've gotten the chance to really tweak it and fine-tune it, and we're very happy with how it's come out.
And it's the same 2-liter turbocharged inline 4-cylinder petrol engine with a 6-speed Tiptronic torque converter Autobox with only front-wheel drive. Is there any plans of giving this car a 4-motion, like a Haldex coupling for an all-wheel drive conversion in the future, or is that something that you guys have not decided on yet?
Well, all the specs that you mentioned earlier are correct. This version gets a bump in torque, so there is a nice noticeable increase there from the previous version. There's no plans for all-wheel drive in the Passat right now. There, just doesn't seem like something that the customers who are going for that would go for in this particular model, although we do offer it extensively along our lines of SUV. The Tiguan and the Atlas are both available with 4Motion now, as well as our upcoming Arteon, which will have 4Motion available as well.
Fantastic. And one last thing we can talk about before I let you go. Can you tell us a little bit about what you've done on the inside? Like, we talked about the outside and the drivetrain now, but in terms of the space and in terms of the technology and the features, what's new for the new model?
Well, the inside of the Passat has always been very, very spacious. It has class-leading legroom in its segment. The trunk is enormous. You can get your family in there and have lots of room to spare. The center console has been a little bit tweaked, more aerodynamic looking. The styling has been brought higher up inside the car to match the exterior styling as well. So you look inside, and while we're not a premium brand per se, you can really see some nice touches inside that echo features you might see in a car with a much higher sticker than this one.
Just one last question on the same topic. What about virtual cockpit in the dashboard? Do we see that in this generation, or is it still not on the books yet?
So we will not see digital cockpit in this particular version, basically because it is tied to the MQB platform. It would require some extensive changes to make it work with this platform, but it is something that we are moving into more of our vehicles every day, every generation. It's just not there yet on the Passat.
All right, just one last thing. I know I'm holding you for so many questions, but can you give us an idea of the ballpark for the price of the Passat? Where does it start from?
We can't announce the pricing just yet, but we do imagine it to be very in line with the outgoing version.
All right, well, thank you so much for your patience and time. And
my pleasure.
Hopefully we get to drive this car and test it out for ourselves.
Yeah. All right, thank you.
With prices expected to remain about the same for the 2020 Passat as the outgoing model, it still remains a good price-performance package. Although I do wish for this generation they would have brought in a lot of the new features that we even see on cars like the Jetta, but I guess, it's also down to the fact that it's on an outdated platform. But on the whole, it's still a very reliable car. Comes with 6-year, 72,000-mile bumper-to-bumper warranty, so good peace of mind, plenty of space on the inside and in the trunk, and it drives pretty well, as we know from all VWs. What do you guys think? Is this something that you guys would buy, or do you think sedans like this are really a dying breed and you would just get an SUV instead?